and welcome to the Science Fantasy Experience and to October's marvellous haul. So, last year, to be honest, earlier than that, I've always wanted to create a SpiderMan and his amazing friends shelf kind of display. And I picked up various versions of Spider-Man, Firestar and Iceman. It was originally just going to be Marvel Legends, and I'd pick one or two villains to go with the trifecta, but they just didn't do a Spidey that I liked. Firestar got revealed and I figured I would get the retro card X-Men Iceman. That would be the three, but obviously as time progressed I ended up picking up Diamond Select's Spectacular Spider-Man, the 3 3/4 Iceman and Firestar, so it's all completely different scales. But an offshoot of that is the idea that came to create a rogues gallery of my favourite Spider-Man villains, very much done in a comic book slash cartoon from the 80s and 90s look to them, and all Marvel Legends. And it all started with this guy in January, and that is Doctor Doom. After all these months, I've finally had the time to open Doctor Doom. You know, it took a while. I was reluctant to destroy his Fantastic Four packaging because it was just so beautiful and really evocative of the original Toy Biz packaging, but he is an absolute delight. I cannot fault this version of Doctor Doom at all. Yes, Doctor Doom is very much the big bad in Fantastic Four, but he's always been a Spidey villain to me. You know, he was in a couple of the comics that I read as a child. He's in like 6 episodes of the early 80s cartoon, 1 episode of Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, and he's in the opening credits for Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. He is a Spider villain for me, for sure. And they have absolutely just nailed him. This thing's heavy as well. It's got so much like plastic in it and tons of moulded detail. All the drapes in his cape and the creases on his tabard, cloak, medieval get-up. The colours are just incredible. They ooze the comic book and definitely the cartoons. As you can see, you can get him into incredible poses. He does come with a spare head, a very 60s looking one, but I prefer this kind of stoic look. You can holster his gun. He comes with a couple of tombs and some kind of blast effects, which I'm not entirely keen on blast effects for Marvel Legends. A few here and there. I much more prefer them for kind of my Power Rangers figures. They don't really work for me on Marvel Legends, but it's always cool to have them as an option. And it looks shiny on the camera, but the grey, silver, metal is actually, it's not dull, but it's kind of, it's got a little iridescence in it. They've nailed Doom. They've absolutely nailed Doom. Why didn't I open it sooner? So Doom really got the ball rolling for the month of October in terms of Marvel. It must have been, I don't know, the first couple of days of October, and it urged me to really go for this shelf. And then I thought, hang on a sec, I've got a Marvel supervillain on a shelf somewhere. So I dusted off Hydroman. this guy was dusty as hell. I'd not taken him off the shelf for a play for a long time. I think the last time I got him down was to have a go, my only go, at some toy photography, once and never again. But he's fantastic. I can't fault him. He's a bit more plain in terms of detail, but obviously it makes up with giant translucent hands and blast effects that I do like. But yeah, that's him without those extra bits added to his feet. Those blast effects really work and really bring forward Hydroman's look. A big fan of Hydroman, and I didn't know who he was until the 1990s cartoon. And when I saw him on the animated show in the mid-90s, I was like, wow, Hydroman's really cool. He's just like a water version of Sandman. And I grew up with Sandman. It was incredible to see a character as vivid. And then obviously I went back and read comics, and he's just an absolute henchman, guy for hire, and just really funny. And some incredible battles between him and SpiderMan. Yeah, so he got dusted off, and he is ready to go on the shelf too. Again, quite early on in October, must have been like the first week, In Demand put on a post across various social media networks that they were having a clearance sale, which was super exciting, obviously. But they also put at the end, they had come across stock in the warehouse which had been designated out of stock across their website. And I was just like, wow, could this be the moment I could finally get this elusive figure? It's been out of stock for so long, and again, it's one of those ones where I should have pre-ordered, because it sold out really quickly. And you know, you'd think I'd learned my lesson by now. There's just certain figures, they either short supply them, short pack them, or the demand is actually really high and unexpected. So yeah, they launched it at, I think, something like 8 o'clock at night. So I raced to get there straight away, and yes, there was one in stock, and I couldn't believe it. I grabbed myself a retro carded green Goblin, Spider-Man's ultimate foe, and I was desperate to get him because I think he is absolutely incredible. He looks like he has jumped off the screen just as he flies through on the theme tune to Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. Pumpkin bomb, satchel, glider, incredibly posable. He's got the manic face. I know there's some chat in the fandom, and it's 50-50 split on the eyes. Personally, I quite like the eyes. Yes, it's very much, he has a beady eye in the comics and the cartoons, but I like that crazy, insane, wild, big eye look. It suits the character. I've spoken about it before. Sometimes you want that extra little bit of essence of a character, and I quite like the eyes. He again, the figures that I'm choosing for this Rogues Gallery shelf, they're kind of personal to me, and I just want the best representation I can. And he's just like the others. He's spot on. I guess you can see a theme here. Here's his card back. As you can see, I have done the credit card trick where you go underneath, because they're double carded, so you can get in, and I've done it of my best possible way. It took my time, so I can actually reinsert it, and you can't really see too much. There's a bit of a disfigurement to the card there, but you can see you get an extra Norman Osborn head, which I've seen a couple of people get a Charles Xavier body, switch out the head, and you've got a Norman Osborn. That's a pretty cool idea. If I ever saw a loose Charles Xavier, I'd go for that. But I'm not too fussed about having an unmasked Green Goblin. As you can see, the eyes are a little bit more singular there, but yeah, the art is so close to the figure. 1990s vibe, and you can see Bio and a couple of others in the wave. You've got Gwen Stacy, Peter, and he's very much the 1960s cutaway where they used to show his dual identity, very 60s. Electro, and then SpiderMan. This is the one I'm not as interested in. I like the light blue as opposed to the mid-90s darker blue. And then you've got Daredevil in his armoured Daredevil. Don't know too much about that suit, but I'm not fussed on any of these extra ones in the wave. Well, we are into the middle of October now, and I get an email ping up that my pre-order is about to be dispatched, and I'm like, oh, that's incredible. Oh, which pre-order is it? I've got quite a few things on pre-order. Ones that they either keep getting pushed back or cancelled, or various websites, various toys, various toy lines, and I was just like, oh, what on earth? Which one is it? And the timing could not be better, considering what was going on in terms of all Marvel. And the pre-order came in for my favourite villain of all time, Flint Marco, or William Baker. I didn't know that his name was William Baker until I read the card back. I've always known him as Flint Marco, the Sandman. He's been my favourite ever since childhood, and seeing the cartoon, seeing his mass shift, seeing him go up against Spidey and the Human Torch, he's just an incredible character. I found him really menacing as a kid, because I think he made really devastating weapons with both his arms, whether it was warhammers or horned ball maces. And again, just like the others, they've absolutely nailed that face sculpt. They've just given him pure anger and emotion, and his signature wavy lined hair. He looks absolutely incredible. You may notice that he is a reuse of the body mold, and he works incredibly well with his partner in crime, his nemesis. As you can see, the colours really contradict each other, and you cannot really tell that it's the same body when they're all on display. And those added extra blast effects just change the dynamic of two very similar characters. Yeah, he's my absolute favourite. The moulded detail, with his because it's his radiation. You know, he can turn his whole body, which includes his clothes, because that's what he was wearing when he was irradiated. Is that the right word? Irradiated? Hit by radiation. Yeah, great. Sandman's retro card, again with the 1990s Spider-Man logo, even though it didn't feature in the show, legal reasons. But you get an extra head sculpt with, in some ways it's like a gunshot that's gone through his head, T-1000 style, and then you get an extra wrist and a enlarged sand fist. Tried to recreate the kind of look of the card art for my figure, and then on the back you get a bio of William Baker, who? Flint Marco, and just what you can do. No wave though, so yeah, he just obviously not in a wave, just a standalone. So it doesn't end with Sandman. We get to the end of October and we have PulseCon, Hasbro's virtual fan convention, and I gotta tell you, I absolutely loved PulseCon. I thought it was incredible. All the things we saw across all the toy lines, Transformers, Marvel, Star Wars, Power Rangers. Some of the stuff was mind-blowing. Some things I can take them or leave them. Some really cool ideas going on with Transformers, bringing in other characters, a multiverse if you will, the likes of Bulkhead, getting a kind of reinterpretation, seeing the HasLab Sky Striker, that looks phenomenal. A return to O-rings for G.I. Joe. I really never thought we'd get it's not a reissue of the Sky Striker, it's a modern update. Seeing that was phenomenal. For the Black Series, lovers out there, you know, another HasLab in terms of the Rancor. Seeing some of the Megazords done in there, their style was really impressive, for sure. But obviously there was convention exclusives, and I managed to grab a Venom, which again, absolutely incredible. Came in a beautiful box, which I've already dinged, which I'm kind of annoyed about, and it was beautifully packaged. So it's my first time with ordering from Hasbro Pulse, and it came so well packaged, and my fault in dropping it in my excitement. I dinged the box, but at some point he's going to get opened anyway, because this shelf it's really taking shape, and I just cannot wait. I've just not had an opportunity to open him, but here we have a look at his still unopened card. Once again, I'll try and do the credit card technique just in case I ever want to put them back in. It's really doubtful, because as I said, this shelf is filling me with so much joy, and I can't wait to really build it up, get them. I've got most of them into their poses, but he's going to be the kind of the interesting piece, because when you see Venom in the cartoon and in the comic, especially in Lethal Protector, he's drawn so dynamic that I just want to be able to give him the perfect pose. Spare head, one with the tongue. They've gone for that real 1990s cartoon element with the red and the blue, how he was drawn, especially to disassociate him from the black suit. SpiderMan. I'm not the biggest Venom fan. I like some parts of him. I think he's got developed much more over time through the 90s, definitely, and Lethal Protector's awesome. But yeah, he's still an ultimate villain to have, and one of Spider-Man's greatest nemesis, and yet friend when they take down Carnage. That whole kind of relationship where they need each other. Again, no wave, but you get a bit of a bio. And finally, to end, here's a look, a work in progress of what it could possibly look like on the shelf. But I do want to add 2 more figures to it. In January, hopefully, we're getting a release of the Hobgoblin. Again, another favourite, a fan favourite, and I feel like they've nailed this as well. And they've gone for somewhat an integrated feel of both comic and cartoon. I think the cartoon in the 90s, the face wasn't exact to the comic, and he looks a bit more darker, edgier, grittier, a lot more scary. Growing up, I liked Hobgoblin a lot, and it was great to see the 2 variations and then learning how they both came about, and knowing that they both had a fierce rivalry, and to have 2 Goblin characters that are so dynamically different, that's going to be awesome. And just to add, I hope that they make a retro carded deluxe, because I feel he'd need to be a bigger card, a bigger figure of a 80s/90s style yellow and green Doc Octopus with fully posable arms along the size of, you know, a Kingpin. That would be incredible. October's marvellous haul. I've been Rudy Zissou, and always remember, it's as much about play as it is display. Thanks for watching.